Hello, this is Dr. Grande. Today I will analyze the case of Aliza Sherman. First, I'll look at the background of this case, move to the timeline of the crime, then offer my analysis. Aliza Zinn Sherman was born on September 6, 1959, and lived in Beechwood, Ohio. This small town, which is just east of Cleveland, is home to a large Jewish community. 90% of the town's population identifies as Jewish. Aliza worked as a fertility nurse at the Cleveland Clinic. She was married to a man named Sanford Sherman, and they had 4 children together. The marriage was tumultuous. The police were called to their house 22 times for reports of domestic disturbances. In 2011, Aliza filed for divorce. She ended up with an attorney named Gregory Moore, who worked for a practice called the Stafford Law Company. Now moving to the timeline of the crime. In December 2012, the judge assigned to Aliza's divorce case set the trial to begin on Monday, March 25, 2013. On Sunday, March 24, 2013, one day before the trial, Gregory Moore contacted Aliza to set up a meeting at the Stafford Law Office. The office was located at 55 Erie View Plaza in downtown Cleveland. At 5:24 p.m., 53-year-old Aliza Sherman was found mortally wounded in front of the Erie View Plaza near the intersection of East 12th Street and Hamilton Avenue. She was transported to a hospital where she was pronounced dead at 6:14 p.m. Here is what the police found during the course of their investigation. As Aliza Sherman was waiting to meet her attorney, Gregory Moore, a mysterious assailant stabbed her 11 times. A person presumed to be the killer was captured on video surveillance running away from the scene. A witness who encountered Aliza right after the stabbing said that she was trying to speak. The only statement the witness could make out was, "I'm dying." Nothing was taken from Aliza. The motive for her murder was a mystery. Investigators were interested in talking to Aliza's husband, Sanford, especially considering their divorce trial was scheduled to start the day after the murder. Sanford refused to answer any questions and hired an attorney. The police were never able to interview him. Investigators were, however, able to interview Gregory Moore. During his interview, Gregory said that he had been in his law office at the time of the murder and remained there until 9 p.m. Officers knew that Gregory was lying. He was not in his law office during that time. In addition to this troubling deceptive behavior, the police had other concerns about Gregory. The Cuyahoga County Prosecutor's Office was investigating him for a series of bomb threats which occurred in 2012. On January 18, May 30, and July 10 of that year, someone had called in bomb threats to courthouses. These dates aligned with Gregory's court appearances. He was supposed to be in trial on those days. The police suspected that Gregory had called in the bomb threats because he was not prepared for the cases he was handling. On March 10, 2016, Gregory Moore was charged with tampering with evidence, obstructing official business, falsification, telecommunications fraud, possessing criminal tools, 2 counts of forgery, 3 counts of terroristic threats, and 6 counts of inducing panic. Ultimately, he took a plea deal. On May 5, 2017, Gregory pleaded guilty to 2 counts of inducing panic and 1 count of falsification. The inducing panic charges were felonies. The falsification charge was a misdemeanor. A few weeks later, he was sentenced to 6 months in jail. His license to practice law was suspended, and he resigned his license in December 2017. The police wondered if Gregory Moore was involved in the murder of Aliza Sherman, but they did not have enough evidence to accuse him of that crime. Eventually, technological advances in the area of digital analysis led to the discovery of new evidence. Here is what investigators were able to piece together about Gregory's behavior on the day of Aliza's murder. On Sunday, March 24, 2013, the day before Aliza Sherman's divorce trial was to start, Gregory Moore sent a text message to her at 2:31 p.m. He asked her to meet him at the Stafford Law Office at 4:30 p.m. and to let him know when she was leaving for that meeting. At 3:51 p.m., Gregory arrived at the Stafford Law Office building and swiped his access card at the front door. The police learned that he either did not enter the building or he entered and then left before 4:07 p.m. Gregory was telling Aliza to meet him at the law office, even though he was not there. At 3:54 p.m., Aliza sent a text message to Gregory indicating she was leaving for the meeting and she would arrive by 4:30 p.m. Gregory responded, quote, "Take time, closer to 5, unquote. At 3:57 p.m., Aliza wrote, "I left, will wait, call me when you get there." Aliza drove from her residence in Beechwood to downtown Cleveland and waited outside the Stafford law office. At 4:15 p.m., Gregory called Aliza, but she did not answer. 4 minutes later, she sent a text message to him saying, quote, "Sorry, couldn't get to the phone, got here quicker than I thought, let me know when you are here, I will wait in my car, no problem," unquote. At 4:23 p.m., Gregory disconnected his cell phone from the Verizon cellular network. This meant that his phone could not make or receive text messages or phone calls. However, Gregory was still able to send text messages bearing his phone number. He probably did this using another device equipped with a messaging app, which was connected to a Verizon mobile hotspot on the Stafford Law account. Sometime around 5:11 p.m., Gregory resumed text message communication with Aliza. At 5:13 p.m., Aliza texted, "Will you be here soon? Standing outside building. If not, we'll go back to my car." 1 minute later, she texted, "Will you be here soon? Kind of cold." At 5:15 p.m., Gregory responded, "Been here." This message implied that he was in the Stafford law office, which of course was not true. At 5:16 p.m., Aliza texted, "Doors locked. I thought you would text me when you got here. Been in car 45 minutes. It's okay. How do I get in?" At 5:22 p.m., she wrote, quote, "If you are here, why don't you let me in? I guess I will go back to my car. Too cold. Text me when door is open. Thanks," unquote. 2 minutes later, Gregory, or an unknown conspirator, approached Aliza from East 12th Street, moved into position behind her, chased her down, and stabbed her 11 times. The killer then fled east. After the attack, Gregory resumed text communication with Aliza, sending 6 messages between 5:41 p.m. and 6:43 p.m. In these messages, he asked her where she was, whether she was going to meet him, and for her to call him. At about 7:30 p.m., Gregory Moore entered the Stafford Law Office building through a door in the dock. At 7:32 p.m., he connected his cell phone to the Verizon network and called Aliza's cell phone 3 times. On Monday, March 25, 2013, the day after the murder, Gregory arrived at the Stafford Law Office at 8:23 a.m. At 8:51 a.m., someone from the law office contacted Verizon and tried to cancel the mobile hotspot from the business account. That same day, someone at the law office deleted a voice message that Aliza left from a call box outside the building on Sunday. Later that week, Gregory filed a notice of suggestion of death in Aliza's divorce case. The case was dismissed on April 2, 2013. On that same day, April 2, Gregory transferred his cell phone number for Stafford Law to a different phone. Investigators believed that Gregory Moore killed Aliza Sherman because he was unprepared for the divorce trial that was starting on March 25, 2013. As I mentioned, they knew that he had called in bomb threats in 2012 for the same reason. He was not prepared for trial. On May 2, 2025, the police arrested 51-year-old Gregory Moore in Round Rock, Texas, which is near Austin. He was charged with aggravated murder, conspiracy, 6 counts of murder, and 2 counts of kidnapping. The charging of 6 counts of murder for 1 homicide reflects different legal theories and aspects of the alleged crime. Now moving to my analysis. Here are my thoughts on a few areas that stood out to me in this case. Item number 1. Gregory Moore was born on September 20, 1973. He had a few traffic offenses in the 1990s and early 2000s, but no significant legal problems before his first arrest in 2016. Again, at that time he was arrested for inducing panic and several other charges. He received his license to practice law in Ohio in 2003, Gregory lived in a 2,300 square foot house in Northfield, Ohio, just south of Cleveland. Aliza originally hired another attorney at Stafford Law to represent her in the divorce case, but that attorney's license was suspended by the Supreme Court of Ohio, so Gregory became her attorney. Gregory was never named as a suspect in Eliza's murder, but clearly the police suspected him for a long time. The bomb threats were suspicious because his motive for perpetrating them was to avoid trials that he had scheduled. This connected with the circumstances surrounding Eliza's murder. She was killed the day before her trial was to start. Another clue was Gregory lying and saying that he was in his law office during the time of the murder when he was not. Item number 2. After the murder, many people wondered if Eliza's husband, Sanford, was involved. This makes sense considering the police visited the couple's residence 22 times for domestic disturbances, and the couple was going through a bitter divorce. Certainly, Sanford had more of a motive to kill Aliza than her attorney did. Sanford ran an ophthalmology practice, which closed in 2004. After his wife died, he moved to Florida. A civil lawsuit, which was filed later, revealed that Sanford had an affair, which of course only supplies more of a motive for murder. There was a reference in the lawsuit to a conversation where Sanford solicited advice on how to commit the perfect murder. In 2000, 4 years before he closed his practice, Sanford opened an account in his wife's name. She did not know about this account. Over the next 10 years, he made over $2 million in deposits into this account and eventually emptied it. In 2024, Sanford Sherman died in Florida at the age of 68. Despite all the suspicious behavior on the part of Sanford, the Cuyahoga County Prosecutor's Office said that Sanford was not a suspected conspirator. Now moving to item number 3. Is Gregory Moore guilty of murder? Let's take a look at the evidence both for and against the idea that he is guilty, starting with the inculpatory factors. Gregory had a history of calling in bomb threats to courthouses to avoid appearing at trials. Aliza was murdered the day before her divorce trial was scheduled to start. On the day of the murder, Gregory made plans to meet her at his law office, but lied about being there. About an hour before the murder, he disconnected his phone from the network and used an unconventional method to continue communicating by text using his phone number. This method made it difficult for law enforcement to connect the messages to Gregory. No text messages were sent by Gregory at the time Aliza was killed, but he sent messages right before and after her murder. Maybe he couldn't text her because he was busy stabbing her to death. About 2 hours after the murder, Gregory Moore showed up at his office and entered the building through a door in the dock. He reconnected his cell phone to the Verizon network and called Aliza's phone. This makes it seem like he was trying to fabricate an alibi. After Gregory arrived at work on the day after the murder, someone in his law office tried to cancel the mobile hotspot from the business account and deleted a voice message left by Aliza. Later, Gregory transferred his phone number to a different phone and lied to the police about where he was at the time of the murder. Moving to the exculpatory factors, an individual presumed to be the killer was captured on video surveillance running from the scene, but the person's face was covered. There is no way to make an identification. Aliza's husband Sanford had a strong motive to commit murder and appeared to be morally challenged. For instance, he had an affair. That's pretty much it for the exculpatory factors. When considering all the evidence in this case, do I believe that Gregory Moore is guilty of murder? Yes, in my opinion, he is guilty beyond a reasonable doubt. What do I think happened in this case? This is just a theory, my opinion. Gregory Moore really struggled to prepare for trials. For some reason, he just could not get himself ready in time. Rather than picking a different career, Gregory tried other methods to avoid being caught unprepared. For example, he would often file for a continuance. This strategy did not always work. Therefore, Gregory tried something more drastic, namely, calling in bomb threats. As Aliza Sherman's divorce trial approached, Gregory once again found himself unprepared. By this time, he was aware that he was being investigated for bomb threats. Using that tactic again would look incredibly suspicious. This is not something he wanted to do. Gregory needed to think of some other way to avoid appearing at the trial. He came up with the idea of murdering Aliza. If she was dead, there would be no trial. The problem would be solved. Gregory arranged for Aliza to meet him at his law office, and he stabbed her to death while she was waiting for him outside the building. He believed that his clever tricks involving a cell phone, another device, and the mobile hotspot would disguise his identity. Initially, it appeared as though Gregory was correct. He was arrested for the bomb threats and for lying, but not for murder. The police couldn't prove that Gregory did it. Eventually, however, technology advanced and Gregory found himself in a lot of trouble. One of the most unbelievable aspects of this case is how an attorney allegedly killed his own client just to avoid doing his job. Considering all the work that Gregory allegedly put into the murder plot, he clearly had time to prepare for the trial. The murder plan was more difficult than the trial preparation. If Gregory is guilty, it appears as though he simply had no regard for human life. To him, killing Aliza made sense because it accomplished his objective. He was unconcerned about the moral ramifications of committing homicide. Aliza's life did not matter to him even one bit. From Gregory's perspective, Aliza was just an object that he could dispose of. I have covered a few cases over the years which involved attorneys behaving badly, lawyers who were stealing, lawyers who maintained inappropriate relationships, incompetent lawyers, lawyers who concealed evidence, but nothing compares to a lawyer who would murder his own client, especially to solve a problem caused by the lawyer's irresponsible and lazy nature. In many murder cases, victims had some idea they were in danger before being killed. In this case, however, Aliza Sherman could have never seen this coming. There was no reason to raise an objection. She believed that Gregory was preparing for court, but he was preparing to rest her case permanently. Those are my thoughts on the case of Aliza Sherman. Thank you so much for watching. I'll talk to you soon.